everybody. Lyra, can you quit the mail there? We have a pop. That'd be really freaking annoying.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we get started here, we were talking about setting. That's enough, thank you. So setting is, our time, place, mood.
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention too, okay, yes.
It's where the story takes place.
It is where the story takes place. It is also like the mood of the time period,
Yeah.
the feeling of
like if you're describing something like a room, for example, and you don't want to give it like a Victorian vibe, you're not going to point to the grandfather clock or the china or whatever, the doilies or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you want a brighter mood, you're not going to say, oh, it's cloudy and raining outside.
And like we were talking about before with overly describing things. And in the first draft, of course, you want to overly describe your setting because it gives you reference.
It gives you a very clear picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
Then later you can also see what's important. Like, is it really necessary that my character sees that the doily has a rose and a daisy on it?
Yeah, exactly. Or if the base is, blue with pink flowers.
Or if it's chartreuse with magenta flowers.
Yeah. Sometimes those things are just important though to have in our own minds, so that whenever we go back, we can picture it. And then, you cut out all of those details then in your next draft, whenever you rewrite and you take all that stuff out.
If it is important whether or not the base is blue, then that's when you decide whether to leave it in or not.
Right. And like whether the neighbor's dog is barking, those type of things. If it's not important for the story, then you just, and ignore it.
Like the setting also shows the character of if it's a room, it shows the character of the person who's living in it.
Right.
If it's like a forest, it shows a little more of the story, like the mood of the story and the genre even.
If it's a forest, it can't be a room. I said if it's a forest.
Why can't you have a forest in a room?
Well, that's fantasy, isn't it?
I mean, come on.
No, I think
about
that
this.
like if the person is living in the forest, they might not necessarily have a living room with a base and a grandfather clock.
Why not?
Well, what if they do? What does it tell you about the character, huh?
Yeah, exactly. See? And like in a painting, for example, you set the mood in a painting, right?
I guess.
You guess.
What other backgrounds contribute to your paintings?
Yeah, the background. And the background is,
like whether it's night or day or even like is important,
Yeah.
especially in paintings. I never think about it. So
exactly. So you don't think about these things. Well, now you're going to have to be thinking about them more.
Yeah.
Because the setting it sets the overall mood of the characters. And like whenever that one painting you just did with the moon and the clouds on the water, it made it look just like, I mean, okay, the moonlight on the water, and the clouds in the sky, and you could actually see the shadow of the clouds in the water, and you could see the moonlight reflecting off the water. I mean, that to me, it said Miami Beach.
Yeah, well, like
moonlight, Miami Beach, full moon.
Pretend like the moonlight is the main character, okay? And then everything else is, the background, the setting. Like the cloud is
I mean,
setting there.
And looking at that painting, I can almost hear the drums in the background from the full moon parties. I know, I could tell. See? Okay, well that's what I'm saying. You set the mood by that. I mean, it was absolutely, oh my goodness. I wish you had it like right here. It's really
Maybe.
Oh yeah, we can post that. It was really fantastic. And also, so with a story, it's the same thing. As like a painting. You are like, you're in this thing, in this theme, in this, the time period. The mood is what you need to be describing
Yeah.
by the things in the place. You
The
need to-
settings should make people feel.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Yeah, the setting should,
Mhm.
it should make people feel. It's not a matter of whether or not the flowers were pretty or whether the you know, the castle was dark or anything. It only matters to the overall feel of the story.
Yeah.
So that otherwise the setting is not really
It should make them
important.
feel like
Mhm.
they're there, feel like.
Yeah,
it's-
whether it's like a quiet country home or a haunted house or, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just
Yeah.
describing it though
Mhm.
with words, you gotta describe it with feeling rather
Yeah.
than just like, I don't say words, oh my goodness, yeah, okay, with adjectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than just stating this is the description.
Yes, thank you. It should have feeling,
Mhm.
like, you know, the boy was scared, rather than saying that, you know,
It was a scary place.
it was a scary place. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you very much. So
And if
anyway,
you point out even more, you want to go more specific, the shadow in the corner scared the boy. Or
Yeah.
rather than it was just a scary room.
exactly, you don't wanna say, oh, it was a dark and stormy night. I actually.
He was dark and stormy.
He was dark and
Actually,
stormy
I
night.
have a couple things that start out with dark and stormy nights.
I do too. Well, a lot of my stories, they start out with, you know, it's like the cold rain fell down upon her skin and, you know, shivered her to the bone.
Wow.
So, you know, you obviously
Yeah.
you know that it's cold, you know that it's raining, you know, and it's
Yeah.
dark and, you know, I
And obviously
feel
she's
those things.
exposed to the rain, so
And-
she's.
Yeah, she's outside walking in the cold rain.
Yeah, so that gives a lot of, you know, story
Yeah.
right in the first sentence.
My last.
Yeah, that's
And
how-
that is important.
That's almost, I have like, I don't know, probably 15 stories that start out like that. They're almost identical, but they're not, they're completely different,
Yeah.
but they're all the same.
My last story that I just
Yeah.
started begins with the girl is pulling weeds in her garden in the middle of December.
So where is she? She's obviously somewhere warm enough where the ground is loose enough to pull weeds in December.
That's the cool part about it is she's actually up north, but her garden's magical.
Oh.
Wow.
So it's like snowing in the woods around. And there's like frost on the ground, so she's just like, you know, pulling weeds in her
that's
garden
cool.
there. You know,
Okay. I hope it gets into that.
It does.
more, 'cause
more
that's
later on.
kinda
But the
fascinating.
thing is, right now, she doesn't realize it
Mhm.
because the space that the magic takes up goes all like this, and she never really goes outside of it.
Oh, so she doesn't even know
No.
that everything else is cold and frozen around her
Mhm.
because she's in her own little magical world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I can relate.
And the thing is that whenever these people come to visit, they're like, wow, everything was like, it's cold and snowy till we got to your driveway.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. It's like, yeah, what's going on in the world around you? I don't care.
Yeah.
Not only do I not know, but I don't care.
Yeah.
If it doesn't affect me directly,
If you did care, you would obviously know.
exactly,
Exactly.
there's that too.
So,
Well,
yeah.
part of this also is she makes the magic, so
Yeah,
yeah.
does she know that she makes the magic? No, see, that's even.
she
Yeah.
thinks she's just normal.
She thinks she's just, yeah, everything's just normal. It's kind of like how you guys grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think, you know, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my goodness, people are that stupid. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not
Hey mom, are
insulting.
you
Not our audience.
No.
Our audience knows what we're talking about because they're the same. Our audience is like, I know.
And then you step out into the real world and you find out your magic.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's all writers.
Actually, I have a couple things in that too.
Writers create magic. That's another thing too. It's like, that's what writers do is,
And artists.
and yes, writers,
And
artists, yes, artists,
I'm thinking of the door,
musicians,
sorry.
musicians, artists, writers, it's like, it's all the same. It's,
Mhm.
you're creating magic. You're creating something wonderful
You're-
and magical.
Moving energy,
Yes,
like
creating
shifting
it. It's, yeah,
Mhm.
bringing it to life.
Yeah.
Which is also, that's why it's really
Waking up the
important to
dormant
write, you know, like,
energy.
and to make sure you have like a really good story is because, you know,
Mhm.
Because like the energy's already there. You're just
Yes,
you're
just-
waking it up
you're-
and
Yes, bringing the
fluffing up the
energy,
pillow and.
yeah, bringing the
Yeah.
energy to life. Yes, because that's what all artwork is.
Because like music is just making the air move in different ways, basically. And all the instruments do is make the air vibrate differently.
Yeah, and put energy into it. Do you remember seeing that thing with the there was was it snowflakes or something like that, where they exposed them all to different kinds of music or water?
Plants.
Was it water
It was
crystals?
bean plants.
Okay, they did it with
Good.
water.
Okay.
They did it with water, I think snowflakes,
Okay.
or like they took the water and they played like certain music or whatever,
Okay.
and then they froze it.
Okay.
And you could see like,
I remember the one with the plants though, because they had plants.
yeah, the plants.
by the speakers.
I remember we did that in school,
Hmm.
when I was, I think in elementary school or something like that. And like some plants, like they just died.
My garden,
You know,
go to Led Zeppelin, I think.
yes,
I'll
Led
play Led
Zeppelin.
Zeppelin for all
Plants
mine,
love
but-
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just,
it's amazing.
Beethoven, Led Zeppelin,
Yes.
same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I could just see some music. It's like the plants are like, woo!
yeah, like in House of the Holy Land. Can I make you a garden,
Yeah.
bro?
Yeah, wow.
No,
Yeah,
never
Led
mind,
Zeppelin's
but-
a little different. But anyway,
Yeah, it is.
But
we're not gonna get
general
into that.
concept.
Yeah. So, you just gotta make sure that, you plants grow to good music.
And children grow to good music and
Actually, that's the same way whenever you're writing, sometimes you're listening to music.
oh yeah, that actually that it
Whenever you're
does.
like listening
type
to
of
like
music-
certain
The type of
music,
music you
that
listen
you
to,
end up
the movies
like
you watch,
subconsciously writing more like
the people you hang around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, we know that.
I'm saying like it goes into everything. So
Mhm.
Yes. So now we're talking about energy here. I mean,
Yeah,
like
it's-
everything. Yeah.
Well, we're setting the background.
yeah,
Yes.
like the energy of your story, is gonna travel.
That is actually something to think about too.
Mhm.
Whenever you are writing, you have this wonderful story in mind. When you're talking about like with Pinterest and gathering up your different your pictures to for your setting for just different things to help build your story in your mind. Well, that's another thing too is well, like whenever you are writing your story, you should be listening to music that supports the vibe that you're going for in your story. Like if you want to write, a children's story about, the happy little unicorn prancing along, la la la, you probably don't want to be listening to like, AC/DC or
I
Megadeth.
was just gonna say
No.
Yeah. Because what's gonna happen is you're going to transmute that energy into your story. And then you're gonna have- Yeah, and then this unicorn by the end of it, I mean, who knows where he's gonna end up? So that's something to keep in mind. The things that you feed into your mind when you're writing, whatever you put out into your story, what you feed into yourself is going to come out. So it's just a given. Yeah, whatever energy you put into yourself and into your mind is gonna come
Yeah,
out
that's
into your
actually
story.
that's why it's really good whenever you all the pictures you were saying about gather up on Pinterest, that also kind
Yeah.
of creates a lot of your energy.
Yeah, it
But
does. It helps
exactly,
create
yeah.
all
Always
Too much feedback is really unhelpful.
that is a good point
Yeah,
too.
there's that.
Yeah,
Too many
so like social media,
influences
we were
with
talking
social
about
media
with
and
social
stuff.
media and things
Mhm.
like that too.
That's
Conflicting, yeah,
that will kind of mess up your story a little bit. Just saying.
yeah, so and
Yeah.
again, you wanna hang around with people who are supportive of your genre, of your vibe.
And
of
most
your-
of the writing community is that.
Yeah, in general, but even
You have to
okay,
find your tribe.
one of the things, well, that's one of the things I was talking about with the one guy we're working with is that, on social media, he was saying, he's like, even, within like the writing community, he's like, there's all these different little cliques, even within the writing community. And he's like, you gotta, find out who you vibe with, even within, you have
Yes.
the larger community, but even, it's just like school. I mean, like it's always been people, no matter where you are or what you do, like whenever you're with a group of people, whether you're in a city, whether you're in, a community, whatever it is,
You have to find the people that.
you have these little cliques and you vibe with, certain people. And you do have to keep that in mind. You can't vibe with everybody all the
No,
time.
even if you're a Leo.
Yeah, it's a little hard, it's a little bit different, because, well, see, with being a Leo, it's like you kind of vibe, you can vibe with everybody.
But you
But
have
who
to,
do you want to vibe? You have to be a little
With
more
great
choosy.
with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly, so you wanna keep.
So that's why Leos are so picky about their friends.
Yeah, well, Leos have to be picky about their friends.
Yeah, it's something they have to put up with
Everybody
for the
should
good of
picky.
mankind.
Yes, for the good of mankind. Because you end up transmuting that out into everything. So whenever you have like negative influences and it comes out into your work, it comes
you
out
paint
into
pictures of,
everything
like,
you do.
Okay, I'm not gonna say it's negative, but sometimes you paint pictures of blood splattered skulls and stuff like that. It's kind of scary.
Sometimes, but in some ways,
I'm not saying that could have been positive expression.
It was.
But-
sometimes I think that I get like with Elsa's artwork, I think one of the things that she ends up doing is she kind of like, whenever she's doing paintings like that, I think it's releasing something
That's what I was saying.
onto the paper.
Is it's positive expression,
It's
it's release.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, it looked
um,
good too. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it did. It's
Yeah, it's just that, yeah, it's like a positive
Yeah.
release rather than, it's
I-
not
I read-
necessarily something negative, but it ends up,
Mhm.
it
I write
can,
sad poems, so.
it can come across as being a negative thing. Whenever you see it on the paper, you're like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with this person?
But then,
And
but if you know
whenever
the
you know
person,
the person,
then
yeah,
you're
you
like,
know
oh, okay,
the person
she's
behind it.
just processing.
Yeah,
It's
it
like
can be.
skulls and stuff like that, they represent like, protection. positivity
Right.
and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think
But
there's
see,
nothing
whenever
wrong-
no, I didn't say there was anything wrong with it.
No, I'm
Just
not
some
saying
of
there's
your-
anything wrong with it either.
Some
I'm
of
just
your
saying,
work,
like,
it's come out, it's where it's like, if you don't know you, if you don't know you as a person, where you're like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
that's creepy.
but like we can tell
But we
by what
know,
you're painting if you're talking to people on social media that you don't like or you don't vibe with differently
yeah,
or if you're in a
it
happy
comes out
spot
in your artwork.
It does.
It really does.
Okay.
And you're-
And if you guys read my writing all the time, you would notice it too.
Yeah, well, some of it, it's like you don't want everybody to read it. Some of
Exactly.
mine is terribly morbid.
Oh, absolutely.
I have things that like, I mean,
I've
like I
got
said,
people turning into skeletons and like
yeah, I've had a lot of stuff
blood
like
and
that.
guts.
I
gore
went through
and-
my Edgar Allan Poe stage. I mean, I did
Yeah.
actually a lot of writing when I was going through that. But see, I had, when I was doing with Edgar Allan Poe, it was actually, what it did was there were, childhood trauma.
Mhm.
What it did was it ended up, through the death and things like that, it ended up bringing it out and helped me to actually process it. And I ended up writing a lot of really awful things,
Mhm.
and I kept them to myself. Some of them, well, I had, I think given them to a teacher at one point for an assignment. Is how I started out doing it. And the teacher was like, oh my goodness, are you okay? Do you need counseling?
Yeah, what?
And I'm like, yeah.
Me and Edgar here.
Yeah. No, I did. I really related to him in, it was sort of like there was a connection. I really connected with his writing, but it made it so that I could process some things that had
Yeah.
happened to me when I was a
Well,
child, so.
Different authors, you hang out with them, you write different things,
Yeah, exactly.
You guys
And
swap ideas around.
well, weird to, yeah. Yeah, you end up doing
I
that.
always catch myself being a little more scholarly after hanging out with Tolkien.
Exactly. And a little bit
That's
more,
actually some.
flourishy with your language.
Yeah, one
And
time I was
really
sitting there
super
reading
creative
Lord of the
when I hang
Rings.
out with C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm like, what if?
Well, that's what I was talking about too, whenever, okay, we're discussing writer's block. When we were saying, go read your favorite stories. If you're literally at a place where you have like actual genuine writer's block, go read your favorite stories over and over again. Listen to your favorite audiobooks, watch your favorite movies. Because those are the things that inspire you. That's why they're close to your heart, is
Exactly.
because they inspire you. And
your favorites.
yeah, and that's why, and so it's different authors, even from the past, they can still, inspire us, and there's that energy is still there, and you can,
And a lot of them are quite encouraging.
yeah, they are, absolutely.
That's why their work survived.
Yes, that's why their work is so great to this day. I mean, that's, I love, personally, one of my favorites is Susan Cooper.
Oh,
The Dark is Rising series, I mean, like, she didn't do a whole heck of a lot of writing other than that.
I mean, she's still writing.
Yeah, but that was like,
That's like
yeah, she didn't do like a lot after that. But that right there, I absolutely love that series. And every time I read it, it doesn't matter. Every time I read it, I get to the end and like it's like a week. It takes me like a week to get over that series. I'm like, I might read it in 3 days and then I'm for a whole week. I'm like,
Mom, what's wrong? I just read the book driving
again.
I need
I
a
just
minute.
love it.
And it's for like a week, okay?
I need a minute
Like
for
it's
a week.
really.
It just
And
it
then
makes me
Agatha
so sad.
Christie?
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
Love
Well,
Agatha
Agatha
Christie.
Christie. Well, like, okay, what was it? The Hollow.
The Hollow?
The one, yeah, the Hollow. Okay, that was the one I read most recently. And after that, I must admit, it took me a few days. It did. It took me a few days to get over that because it was just like it was such a powerful story. Like she got into the characters so well in that story.
Yeah.
And it was so emotional. And not all of them are like that.
No, not all of them.
Some of them are just, it's the story.
Well, yeah, actually,
But that one was really, really deep into the
I love
characters,
the
into
Poirot series.
Henrietta. I mean, just, oh,
I could really relate to it.
yeah, exactly.
But
So,
I love the Poirot series because it's like some of them Hastings tells, some of them it's third person,
right.
some of them's like a diary, some of them like
I like that
different
too.
characters' perspective.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
all in one series, but she writes it all in different.
And
Yeah.
see, there's another
formats,
thing, you
yeah.
don't have, if you write a series, you don't
Yes.
have to stick to the same point of view, you don't have to stick to
Right.
the same type of.
That is excellent to point out.
And
Yeah, I
you-
actually,
you do
I like
video,
writing in third person
you
most,
don't have to
but
stick to the same
sometimes I-
subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you're doing a show like this, you're open, you're free to like,
Mhm.
Okay,
move
the
around a
setting,
little
I was gonna
bit.
say,
you're
all
not
the
boxed in. I hate being
different
boxed
points
in.
of view
clearly.
from every different point of view in
Mhm.
the Poirot series, you get different perspectives of the same settings even.
Yes, exactly. And of the
One of my favorites
characters.
for that one
And
is
of Poirot himself. I mean, you
Yeah.
get, you have
Yeah.
different perspectives of Poirot himself from the different characters or from Hastings,
Yeah.
from somebody close to him, somebody, not close to him. I mean, it's
But
really,
yeah, you can really see how the setting interacts with the characters and the characters with the setting.
Mhm.
Also, like one of my favorites was for setting wise, cards on the table. He has each of the characters, each of the suspects
Mhm.
describe the room,
Yes, exactly.
and that was really clever.
Mhm.
And obviously, the one who could describe it best is the murderer because mine wasn't on the card game.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an excellent one. Cards on the Table is really good. That reminds me of,
Yeah, I've been wanting to read that one, I haven't yet.
there's some books I've read, I think it was in the British Prime Classics series. I love that series, by the way.
Mhm.
Oh my freaking goodness, it's the best.
Mhm.
But what I like about it is that almost each book is like, by a different author. And they've taken them and, republished them and everything. They're just- But anyways, there's one of the books, I can't remember which one it is, dagnabbit. Like I can feel it, I can taste it, but I can't remember the actual name of it. But anyways, that's what it does, is it takes, each chapter is written by a different character and it just goes along through each chapter all the way to the end. Each chapter is from a different character. And
Yeah.
it's absolutely fantastic. I love stories that are written like that. And I tell you what, it takes a lot of work to get it
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could probably write it to write just an entire piece by the one character and then just split it up. You could probably do it that way
You could.
easily, but in order to keep with the way the story's going. I mean,
yeah,
it's
I like
just-
to switch between characters.
Me
Yeah.
too.
It also helps me like, sometimes I get tired of listening to one character ramble on.
Oh, I know. Yes,
Yeah, there's
I know.
that.
It's like, you know what, shut up, next chapter.
Yeah, person now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
I
actually-
really.
I like doing
that.
it in third person and then still doing it from like somebody's point of view.
In like a
Third
part of
person
it,
limited.
and then,
Yeah, like
yeah.
I like to mix up with that, I like to add writing. And
Mhm.
in my one book, I'm actually alternating different points of view in third person with like diary entries from hundreds of years ago. And
Oh,
then-
yes, I've seen ones like that too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love books like that.
And then
Oh, that's
some-
fantastic.
Parts of historical documents and
Right,
all that stuff,
I like that too.
so.
I definitely like
Yeah.
that. It adds, there's so much depth to a story then.
Yeah.
There was a book I read like that. I can't remember which one it was.
this book,
It was fantastic.
is over 200,000 words. I'm still working on it,
Mhm.
but
Oh, wow.
Oh, wait,
I might have
which
to
book-
split it in two.
Might, I might have to split it in two, I'm not
wait,
sure.
which book is
I'm gonna
this?
pick that up.
Oh, okay.
But it's one of my favorite pieces that I've been working on, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
got all the characters, all the history and world building and everything. I love it very much.
yeah,
Mhm.
I
And
like
also
the
the
like
settings in that.
I like, yeah.
There was, wasn't it even, one of the, Dark is Rising books, didn't it kind of go back and forth?
Yeah,
And so that's what it
Well,
was, maybe
also,
I'm thinking
what I
of.
like is they went back
The
in
Green
time.
Witch.
Well, yeah, they
too.
went back in time, but also.
No, there was some, no, and they were finding the documents and stuff. and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
that
Nova
stuff.
Scanner's Stone.
Over, that's what it
That-
was.
yeah,
I like
Yes,
that one
That
because-
one,
The
Yeah.
like the landscape and stuff. They're like,
yes,
well, what if this didn't change, and then what if this changed, and then like
yeah,
Yeah, I
he'd have to
yeah.
pick something that wouldn't change. The moon,
yes,
it changes.
yeah,
but
because
seasons
everything
are-
else
Yeah,
changes except for, what is the one thing that remains the same
yeah.
throughout history? or
Like the
throughout
sun
time,
and the
yeah.
moon and the shadows.
Because the stars all, they change, like everything changes.
Yeah.
And like the coastline, changed a tiny bit. Or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Excellent,
that one was. I liked how she did that one.
yeah,
Very well.
me too. Okay, so we are
Mhm.
running on here,
Yes,
usual.
and we're also running out of time today.
yes, today we have a short day. So I guess we probably ought to close it out. So setting is very important.
Yeah.
And if you wanna overlap settings from the past and settings from the future,
That's absolutely fantastic. We
fine.
love when you do that.
make sure you do your research a little bit.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that was the other thing I wanted to point out is, do make sure you do some research and things like that.
If you're writing.
If you're
for
writing
histor-
historical,
Yeah.
well, actually, even if you're writing fantasy, I mean, you do still need to have some
Mhm.
research
Yeah.
on, because like we were saying before, I mean, fiction has to make sense,
Mhm.
whereas reality doesn't, but fiction does.
Exactly. So you wanna do your research for your settings.
Yes, and of course,
Historical,
if it's
present day,
nonfiction,
future.
even you
Yeah.
wanna have your setting and stuff too, but it can be completely different, it has to be, of course, more factual.
Yeah, you have to do more research.
Or unless it's from your own,
Yeah.
like a memoir, things like that.
Well,
Yeah.
memoirs.
And how-to books, you still have to have
Sometimes, yeah.
somewhat of a setting.
Sometimes you have to do research for memoir too.
Yes, you
Mhm.
do. Yeah, sometimes you do, to check on, facts and things like that. All right, so
Okay,
here we
so-
are, we're done.
Yeah.
You guys all have a wonderful day and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.